I am so thankful and fortunate for the medical interventions and the trained medical staff able to implement all of these needed interventions. Hello, my name is Elizabeth McCoy, and if not for these trained professionals and these medical interventions, I would not be sitting here today speaking with you. After a traumatic brain injury, severe brain swelling can occur. When this happens, they first try medication to bring down that brain swelling. If that doesn't work, they have to, as a last resort, place you in a drug-induced coma to allow for healing and give you the best chance at survival. This is required to help prevent brain damage. It basically allows your brain to rest and allows your brain to heal. And hopefully it will result in the reduction of that intracranial pressure. If not performed, the swelling can reduce blood flow and oxygen supply, resulting in damage and death to brain tissue. When coma is induced, there are multiple machines required in order to ensure survival of the patient. A ventilator in order to keep the patient breathing and the lungs functioning properly. They use an EEG to allow the doctors to monitor brain activity to allow for optimum healing. And then there's an intracranial pressure gauge to monitor the pressure in the brain to avoid further damage and to allow for that healing. Of course, then there's the ICU staff that are trained to monitor and make adjustments as needed. I'm very thankful for them and their knowledge as well. Just over 24 hours after I was placed in that drug-induced coma, my brain swelling began to spike. They rushed me back for an emergency CT. The pressure in my brain was 99 millimeters of mercury. Normal pressure is 7 to 15. That's an 84-point difference. Can you imagine? Can you imagine what my family must have been going through? They were so scared. Our minister that weekend was out of town, even further away than the hour-and-a-half drive it was to the hospital from the hometown where I lived. But he was able to get a hold of a Calvary Baptist minister that night in this instance, who was able to come to the hospital and be with my family in prayer. My mom remembers that it was during this prayer that she felt a weight lifted off of her shoulders. And she knew in that moment that I was going to survive and that I was going to be okay. Multiple ministers that night were called from my small town, and they began prayers. Approximately 1 hour after all of these prayer sessions, at 1 a.m. on August 28th, the swelling in my brain began to subside. I was becoming more stable, and the doctors were feeling more optimistic of me surviving. If this doesn't show you that prayers work, I don't know what does. You see, there is a plan for your life, a greater plan than you can ever dream of or even imagine. That was the case with me. If there wasn't, I would not be here speaking with you today. Whatever it is you're dealing with in this moment, I know that you can get through it. I believe in you. I got through a lot of the difficult times, and my family got through the difficulty of that night and the coming days and weeks with prayer, asking for help, asking God to be your strength. God answers these prayers. He will not fail you. He has never failed me. Now, I have learned this the hard way. His answers may not come right away, but in His times, He will answer. I have learned so many times over the past years, His timing is much better than any timing of our own. As I became more stable, my family was able to become more familiar with the monitors and the different alarms that would go off. But in the beginning, both my family and even the nurses, when an alarm would go off, they would begin to panic. My head had to be partially shaved in order to insert that intracranial pressure gauge so that they could monitor the brain swelling. Can you imagine being a 14-year-old girl, beautiful, popular? I wouldn't have never shaved my head if it was my own choice. After 2 weeks, the pressure began to reduce and I was becoming more stable. They were able to, in that 3rd week, begin taking away some of those medications that were keeping me in that deep sleep in the drug-induced coma as the brain swelling was subsiding. My family says the scariest part was the unknown, not knowing what I was going to be like when I would wake up, what struggles I would have. Do you or have you ever had that fear? Fear of the unknown? I can tell you right now, you have nothing to be afraid of. Fear is only false evidence appearing real. Over the last many years, I had to learn how to put it in God's hands. He knows everything. He can be your strength. He can be your confidence. Whenever it feels like your life is over and you're ready to throw in the towel and give it all up, and you're in that dark place, let God be your light. It was the end of that 3rd week when I finally woke up. I remember my dad says he remembers the first time I opened my left eye. He was sitting in my hospital room watching hunting and fishing shows, which I absolutely hated. And he was thinking to himself, if Beth was awake right now, she would tell me to change this channel or turn the TV off. And then all of a sudden he looked over and my left eye was open. In the beginning, of course, I couldn't speak because that ventilator had been in for just over 2 weeks. My vocal cords were very weak, so I would answer questions by blinking my left eye or squeezing my right hand. I had a long road ahead, and little did I know that it would be an uphill climb the entire way. Eventually, they would sit me in a chair briefly. Of course, I wasn't able to stand on my feet or anything. It was basically them picking me up and placing me in that chair. I fatigued very, very quickly, so they would get me up in the chair for a little bit of time and then I would sleep the rest of the day. On September 19th, I stood for the first time, briefly, And of course, I had the therapist with their hands all over me, helping to hold me up because my legs were so weak I couldn't stand on my own. That was the first time that my feet actually touched the ground, and I bore some weight in 24 days. I'm very thankful for the therapists that have played a huge role in my independence and getting me to the point where I am now, where I can take care of myself. At this point, I still had no idea how difficult this journey would become. How much do we take for granted each and every day? Being able to walk to the mailbox, walk to the kitchen to go get a glass of milk. I didn't know that the hardest of struggles that I would ever face were going to come about in the next 4 to 6 years of my life. Whatever it is you're dealing with in this moment, whether it's a loss of a job, an unexpected injury, or an unexpected illness or diagnosis that has happened that makes you feel lost, you can do this. Don't let those challenges you are facing stop you. As I said before, there is a much greater plan for you. You can learn from these challenges and come out stronger and more prepared for other obstacles that you may face in the future. I am a living testament to this. I am here today to show you there is a way. That is a big reason why and how I was able to learn to overcome. So today, I encourage you, no matter what you are dealing with, don't give up. Know that you have a purpose. I know that through prayer, it can help you the same way it helped me. Learn to let God be your strength, be your confidence, and keep going. Don't give up. Whatever you do, you never know the opportunities that tomorrow may hold. So if you stop today, you're not ever going to see those opportunities that could come about tomorrow. Keep going. Put one foot in front of the other each and every day. Don't let the struggle stop you. As I said earlier, he may not always answer right away, but trust me, he's working on it. Everything is in his time. And I know this can be the hardest part, of course. By listening to so far what I've shared with of my story, you know that I've been there. But it is my hope and my purpose to be able to help you through this difficulty in your life, so that when you get on the other side, you can feel as rewarded as I do living God's will. Now, if any of you or your friends or your family, loved ones are in need of prayer, please comment that below so that I can keep them in my prayers also. I had prayer warriors all over the world praying for me from the night of August 26th and the coming days and weeks and months and years to follow. And I know that that is one big reason why I am still here today. I wouldn't be here if it was not for those prayer warriors going to God and asking for help and asking for healing. Most every night after I got back home, I would end my day and fall asleep talking to God, starting out by thanking Him for my life and my blessings, and asking Him to lead me and help me to make the right choices so that I could do His will for my life and help those that He placed in my path. So again, that's why I'm here right now. That's why I'm doing this, why I'm sharing my story with you, so that I can do His will for my life. I know you can too. If you found value in this video, or you know someone that is dealing with difficult times, please share this with them. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me on Facebook, like my videos, like my posts. And if this helps you, please comment below because I want to know if it's helped you in any way. I had a friend text me the other day that she watched my video and she said it brought her hope. She said, keep doing these. I will be back next Wednesday for part 3 at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. I hope to see you here. Thank you and God bless.